Linda's Pantry, and today I am super excited to bring you along for a video request. I've been listening. I really have. I read the comments. I don't have time to answer anymore. I've got to utilize my time wisely. But I do read and I am listening, and I know that you guys want to see more canning videos. Even though I've got a huge playlist of canning videos, there's always something that comes out of a canning video. I get it. I watch them all the time too. You may get something new out of this. Today, as you see in the title, I am canning corned beef. Now, they don't have an approved method for this because it is a cured meat. But I've been doing this for years. I'm going to continue to do it forever. I always get my corned beef on sale right around St. Patty's Day, and if I put them in the freezer, fine, but they have a really long shelf life. These need to be used by the end of May, which we're approaching pretty quickly. I need to get these in some canning jars. We go through about a pint to 2 pints every month of canned corned beef because let me just tell you, it makes the best corned beef hash. Super easy. I throw some Thrive potato dices in there, and it's pretty much instant. Everything is cooked. You just brown it and you're good to go. Add onions if you'd like, add mushrooms, add whatever you'd like. Anyway, getting back to the canning session, I par cook my meats. I feel I get a far superior product. I get something that looks prettier on the shelf. Doesn't look so much like a canning experiment, but it looks palatable. And if I'm not around or something happened, I want to know that my canned goods are not going to go to waste and somebody's going to actually grab that jar and go, wow, she canned corned beef. Okay, let's make some corned beef hash or corned beef and cabbage, a really quick soup. All right, let's get to canning. I'm going to par cook. Now I've got just over 11 pounds of corned beef, and I get the rounds or the flats. Now these were a butterfly round, so they're very lean. There's not much fat to them at all, and a lot of that fat is going to cook off in the par cooking water. So I just I have a I think this is a 16 quart pot here that is about half full of water, and I'm going to par cook these. That makes it easier to cut up into chunks. It's super easy. You only have to cook it for about 40 minutes at a simmer, a pretty good simmer for 40 minutes. Start cutting it up, scoop it out, get it into your jars, and you're going to can it. I'm going to can it for the same amount of time that I do any other meats, and I'm doing pint jars, so it's going to be 75 minutes once it comes up to pressure. I'm using my 10.5 quart All-American canner, my favorite little baby for this. I may have to do 2 runs because of having so much corned beef right here, 11 pounds. I can, if I use small mouth and wide mouth, I can get 6 to 7 jars in the canner, but so I may have to do more because these will hold almost a pint of meat. So, or almost a pound, I should say. All right, guys, so let's get this in the pot and we'll get it boiling. I'll bring you over and show you. So I par cooked the corned beef at a pretty good simmer for about 40-45 minutes. You don't have to be exact. Honestly, you're just par cooking it so you can get some of the salt out of it, and that's the reason for this. Plus, it's going to look better in the jar. Okay, so it's definitely not done, but it's not raw either, and it'll be perfect, fall apart tender when it's all said and done. And if you'd like, okay, and then on the bottom, because the stovetop is challenging, on the bottom of this one, because that pan is a thinner pan, it kind of scorched. I'm going to cut that off. I don't want that in my canning, and yeah, so that little sliver of meat can go away. And I'm just going to cut it into chunks, you know, like 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Manageable chunks that I can pack in the jars. So just like that. And I'm going to bring you back when I get all of these done and we've got our jars packed, and I can let you know how many. the end of the video. We've got it done. And I gave you a fast forward just because you guys have all seen jars filled, wipe the rims, deep bubble, you know, and went in the canner, brought it up to temperature. When it started venting, I let this thing vent for 10 minutes, which is standard for any pressure canner. And then once that 10 minutes was up, I put a 15-pound weight on it, and that's because of my altitude. So you need to check your altitude for your area. You can go online and check with the national website for home food preservation. You can go on the ball canning website, get a ball canning book. Do not follow anybody else's recommendations, not even mine. Make sure that you double check with written references, that you cross-reference with another one, because mistakes are made in books too. I have several books that have typos in there, and they're critical typos. So you want to make sure that you've covered all your bases, you're safe, and you do it the right way. So what I then do after it comes up to pressure and I put the 15-pound weight on, once it starts jiggling and the pressure gauge has come up to 15 pounds, I start my timing. And I only let it jiggle a few times a minute. I start my timer for 75 minutes for pints. If it was quarts, it'd be 90 minutes. And then, even if it was a pint and a half jar, it'd be 90 minutes because there's no timing for those. Then, once it's hit that 75 minutes, I turn the burner off. I actually, on this stovetop, because it would retain too much heat, I move it off the heat source, and so it's on a cooler source. On a gas stove, you don't have to do that because you have circulation underneath it. But this is, you know, solid to solid, so I move it off that, and I recommend that. Totally up to you. Let it come down to zero pressure on its own. Remove the weight, and I still wait another 3 to 5 minutes before I then unlock all my little wing nuts or thumb screws, whatever you want to call them. And I prop it up so it's got some airflow coming out of there. And the reason I do that is I don't want all the liquid in my jars evacuating because of too fast of a cool down. That will happen every single time. If you do this, I promise you, you will have, and if you've kept your temperature, you know, really slow changes on the stovetop, you will have almost no liquid evacuation in your jars, which will create a better seal, will look prettier in the jar. I mean, it's just an abundant amount of good things that happen from this. So it's worth being patient. So now that you're going, come on, take them out, take them out. So I can take my, my lid off, and I'm going to grab one of my jars here. And I can see there's a little bit of fat in the water, but not bad. And these are still bubbling and boiling. So there you go. We got, I'll get out of the camera. We've got really nice jars. Can you see them bubbling? Yeah. So I'm going to put these on a towel on my counter, and I'm going to leave them alone until just before bed, and I'll come through and check all the seals. And the reason I do that is because a couple of times, if I've had a seal not happen, I wait until in the morning, and then I feel like it's not safe to have it sit on the counter all night in that room temperature. You never want to leave it in the canner, like right now, to let it cool down overnight, because what's going to happen is it's going to hit a certain temperature and just sit there and sit there and sit there, and it causes what's called flat sour. It won't make you sick, but it will make your food taste really nasty, and you're not going to want to eat it. So you want to make sure when it's time you take your jars out of the canner and let them cool without a towel on top of them. Don't do that. I think my mom used to do that with jellies, but anyway. So I have 7 pints of home canned corned beef going on the shelf. I'm super excited. as you can see, I try not to tip my jars and get any of the water off the top of the jar. I'm going to wash these jars in the morning, take the rings off, wash the jars, label them, and put them in the extended pantry. This represents probably 3 months of, we traditionally have corned beef hash at least once or twice a month. So now I've got 3 more months on my shelf of corned beef hash. Or I can take one of these jars and make corned beef and cabbage. And guys, it's absolutely phenomenal. If you price corned beef, that icky stuff in the can in the grocery store, and it is disgusting. I'm sorry. Whoever makes it, I'm sorry. If you've priced it, it's expensive and it's not very good. It's very unhealthy. And this, I know exactly what went in the jar, where I bought it. I bought it from a very good, reputable grocery store that I trust, and a very good brand. So, as always, guys, if you like these videos, leave me a comment in the comment section. Hit me a thumbs up and share it on your Facebook page and your other social media, because maybe you haven't thought about this, or maybe you have. A lot of people can corned beef. I've been doing it for years. I have other videos on it. And you know what? Go down below and get some Thrive potatoes, because I'll tell you what, it's almost like instant corned beef hash. It's amazing. So I'll see you next time for another delicious recipe, quite possibly a recipe using the corned beef, or I have some other stuff coming up. You never know. And we've got some more renovation and septic tank troubles. If you want to see a septic tank disaster, let me know in the comments below. All right, guys. Mwah. As always, I'm so glad you came along, and I'll see you next time. Bye.